Enfield Mark 1. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Ian Skennerton, who is actually an Australian. I'm led to believe he's an Australian. And he wrote what is essentially the Lee Enfield Bible. It's called The Lee Enfield, A Century of Lee Metford and Lee Enfield Rifles and Carbines. Ian Skennerton. If you want to buy the book, you can go straight onto his website, and I think you can buy it direct from him, thereby negate getting stung by middlemen. I actually got this from Rebel Gunworks. Yeah, it was just easy because Rebel Gunworks is in Queensland, and it got to me real quick. It's a fantastic book, let me tell you. And it actually it's very, very well made. It's a hardcover book. It's got a white marker, satin marker, and also a red satin marker. So this is actually the first book that I've seen that had two satin markers. Yeah, that's really good. But anyway, in this book, I actually found this firearm, and it is the magazine Lee Enfield shortened rifle club pattern. I'll just read this for you. So the barrel length is 25.2 inches. Now, introduction, in-house Lithgow from 19. Converted Lithgow, various gunsmiths, rifle club armourers. Okay, from 19, just as must be from 1919. So Lithgow here in Australia, the National Armoury actually converted these to this pattern from 1919 till I don't know when. From 19, that must be from 1919. But they were also conversions. So conversions were by Lithgow, various gunsmiths and rifle club armourers. Okay, so there is a mark here, VR Enfield 1896 LE1. Mine is an 1897, so it was the second year of production of the Mark 1, Lee Enfield. So with the introduction of the SMLE into Australian Rifle Club competition, many existing Rifle Club MLE and a few MLM rifles were reduced in length so as to comply with the new Rifle Association regulations regarding barrel length. This merely involved shortening off the forend and the fitting of a new or cut down 25.2 inch barrel, the same configuration as the SMLE. Okay, so the SMLE has got a 25.2 inch barrel. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Because I know, yeah, I'm still reading this. It's, how many pages is it? It's over 600 pages. So, and they're not little pages with little print, little font. They're tiny print and they're big pages. So, two prominent Sydney gunsmiths were involved in the proposed modifications. H.J. Motti Sights of 40, Taylor of 80 Bathurst Street, who suggested means to reduce barrel lengths from the 30.2 inch. Mott shortened the barrel and turned down the new muzzle to fix a sleeve with the original outer and foresights sweated or soldered on. Taylor merely turned the shortened barrel down at the muzzle to fit SMLE foresight ring. Three different modifications were applied to reduce the barrel length. This was essentially the introduction of the Lithgow Heavy 303 barrel. The original 30.2 inch barrel was cut to SMLE length, recrowned, and the original foresight band refitted after the muzzle was turned down, sometimes on SMLE ring. An adjustable blade was then fitted. That was H.J. Motten did that. Option 2 was a new 25.2 inch long barrel made at Lithgow of MLE profile was fitted. This is marked Lithgow on the Knox film, and an adjustable foresight was fitted, sometimes on the lower foresight band. This does not have Lithgow on it, so it's not one of those. Or 3, the original barrel was shortened to 25.2 inch long, recrowned, and SMLE foresight band, sometimes with a lower block was fitted. Such a method is illustrated in the accompanying. Okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what barrel this is, because there was a guy at the range, he had a look at it. So it's a magazine Lee Enfield shortened rifle club pattern Australia. That's what the gun is. There was a guy there at the range who I know quite well, Rick, and so he's owned quite. Oh man, sorry for wiping myself down, but I'm just sweating like a pedophile at a Wiggles concert. It is just so humid. Oh, seriously, apologise for that joke, but yeah. Oh, I tell you, it was 83% humidity in Townsville, where and the Harvey's Range where I shoot is close to the Townsville centre. Not, it's probably, I don't know, 30 kilometres away. All that noise is, I've got rosellas going, or parakeets or rosellas, whatever they are. They're chewing on my mango tree. They're devouring my what's left of my mangoes. You hear 'em? The bird life here is crazy. But anyway, so Townsville is a dry city. It's in the it's in the dry tropics. Like, its nickname is Brownsville, and that's because it's just bone dry. Every creek that I cross on the way to Townsville is just bone dry. The whole of the city is bone dry, and yet the humidity was 83%. So I'm just across the border I'm in the wet tropics, and the humidity here is stifling and damn hot. I said damn hot. And so I'm having another Bex. Yeah, I know. Don't judge me. Oh. Yeah. So anyway, yes, she said. So anyway, the rifle. How did it perform? Rick had a look down the barrel. I said to him, from what I could see from the where's one of those? From what I could see down the barrel, the rifling was very prominent. It was really good. Like, the rifling was good. The only issue is that there is really, really, really fine pitting the length of it right throughout it, which is a unique sort of situation where you've got really good rifling but really, really fine pitting all the way. What that suggests to me is that some elderly chap who had this as a competition rifle passed away, had it in his cupboard, and it was an estate, you know, someone inherited it, stuffed it in God knows where, in a garage or garage, whatever you want to say, and it just sat there for decades and decades and decades, probably the vast majority of this century, of last century. And that is how that situation came about. That is the most likely scenario as to what occurred to this gun, because when I poke a 311 and it ain't going in there, that's tight, okay? So if it's tight at the muzzle, if it's tight at the muzzle, she's good throughout, and she is, she really is. Rick had a look down the barrel and he said, wow, that's a lot better than most. And it's a 123-year-old gun. So it's older than he's never had a Mark 1, a number 1 Mark 1. He said to me he's had smellies, quite a few smellies, number 3s, or number 1 Mark 3s, or... Man, I get confused with Lee Enfield nomenclature. It's just friggin' a minefield. What is it? So it's a number 1 Mark 1. Is that right? Let's see. Or is it just a Mark 1? So the Mark number 1 Mark 1, or yeah, whatever. Anyway, he's never had one of these. He's had a number 3 or Mark 3, whatever it is, the smelly. He's had a few of them. I think he's still got 1 or 2 or a few. And he said Yeah, his barrels, like, he struggled to get barrels with such good rifling as this gun. So yeah, that says something. You know, I absolutely day before yesterday, I absolutely stripped this to the buggery. Like, every screw that I can undo, I undid, and I took it apart completely, and I ran it through I've got a 15-litre Sonic ultrasonic cleaner. Everything that I could, I even had the barrel, you know, upright with the action sitting in the Sonic cleaner, you know, rattling away at it. But when I had the bolt in the Sonic cleaner, what it did, because I couldn't remove the firing pin. The bolt on these things is essentially just a sleeve, and the two ends, just one screws on, the other, I'm not sure how the other one, can't remember how the other one goes on, pinned on or screwed on or whatever. But anyway, to get the firing pin out, you need this two-pronged tube tool because there's two slots at the base of the firing pin, and you need to get in there and under. You know, I retrofitted a tool, jerry-rigged a tool out of a piece of tube that I had, but it was just too lightweight tube and it just twisted. It was rusted in. So when I had this in the ultrasonic cleaner, there's clearly rust inside the sleeve, in between the firing pin and the sleeve. Now, once I thought I'd cleaned everything properly, I actually hadn't as regards to the bolt, because what happened was when I reassembled all that I could do was unscrew the head, the bolt face, the bolt face. All I could do was unscrew that. That just unscrews. These bolts are really quite simple, so yeah, they're pretty easy to work on. In fact, the whole gun, I have to say, is a good idea. With how it's put together, it's really put together simply. Some of the ideas from the Martini crossed over to this. Now, one of the ugly things about the Lee Enfield is that is actually the rear of the action. So that band, what looks like a band, it's not a band, it's actually the rear of the action. And so all the wood, so if you see that brass, that brass doohickey there, right, goes all the way through. So there's a pin that goes all the way through. And the theory behind that pin is, just like in the Mausers, some of the Mausers have a cross action bracing. That's what this is, because this foreguard, bottom wood, there's only two bands that hold it. Look at that, that's become loose. And there's only one action screw. Lee Enfields only have one action screw, and so all of that, you think about it, all of that is cut out, right? So all that's left, once they machine all the wood out, the excess wood out, so you can have the action in there, is there's only a very, very little tiny bit of wood, you know, at the back there, and it splits. And this one is split. It's not really that critical because with actions like the Martini and also the Lee Enfield, the wood attaches to the action, as opposed to the Mauser type rifles where the action sits in the wood. If you get my drift, if you've got a Mauser type rifle, you know, Arisaka, Kakano, whatever style, any of those rifles, like military, right? The Mauser style rifles, right? If you've got a big crack in the timber, down the middle, near the action, that's a serious problem. With these type, where you've got two pieces with two-piece wood setups like this, the Martini, the Labelle. What's the other French rifle that came after the Labelle? Yeah, I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, sorry, Ian from Forgotten Small Arms, Forgotten Weapons. But yeah, when you've got two separate pieces of wood, it's not so critical if they crack. Like if the buttstock cracked, well, yeah, that might be a problem. But the actual wood at the front, yeah, it's no big deal as long as it doesn't fall off, you know. So it's not a huge big deal. So what happened? Yeah, the barrel's good. The barrel's really good. The bolt's good. When I did have, like I said, when I did have it in Sonic Cleaner, it actually loosened up some of the rust in there. And when I went on a big segue there, sorry. When I reassembled the bolt, what happened was that some of that rust that I'd loosened off got jammed in between the sleeve and the firing pin, and then it wouldn't fire and it wouldn't cycle, and yeah, so I had to, using brake cleaner, squirting it in there and compressed air and oil, and had to work all that rust, most of the rust out of there, so that it you know, it actually did that. Because what was happening when I first reassembled it is that I went to there and I'd get to there and it wouldn't turn, and then when I did actually lock it, it wouldn't fire because there was so much shit in there, you know. Sorry, you know. So that was a problem, but I fixed that with a great deal of elbow grease and frustration and profanity. Now, that pin. So this pin here that holds the barrel band, stops the barrel band from going forward, that was missing. I think that screw's loose. That was missing. I replaced that with just with a shitty old hex key that I had lying around. That was just a perfect fit, just enough of a friction fit. Man, that's loose. I haven't got a flat tip screwdriver here. Dang. Alright. Don't worry about that. Now the sights, yeah, I didn't. What I'm going to do is after Christmas, because the gunsmith that I get to do my work is flat chat till about the middle of January, possibly February. So I'm going to wait till after then, because I removed all that rubbish paint. So I don't know if you can tell the difference, but it's a lot of it's just bare metal. Most of the bluing has disappeared. Some of it is still there, but yeah, very little. What I'm going to do is get the gunsmith to phosphate it, to black it or blue it, black it, whatever you want to call it. But and then I'll also get him to shim that sight. But it didn't. That play didn't seem to have that much of an effect. The front post, yeah, I didn't do a very good job of painting it in place because it was moving around. So I painted it again, and yeah, not very successfully. I'm going to have to do them. I'll get him to do a proper job again on that. I'm not going to shoot it again until I've had it fixed by him. At the same time, I'll get him to counterbore my Lee Enfield, because the end of that is smoothbore. Now, after all that ranting and segueing and talking poo, let's get down to the nitty gritty. So, fire it for the first time. I'll show you. Check out this. If you want to see some keyholing, look at that. They're just the perfect keyholes. But anyway, I actually got a decent sort of grip out of it for the ones that did stabilise. But I had a problem with it just wouldn't stabilise. So, and essentially, and I spoke to Rick and I said, what do you reckon? I said, I think these projectiles are way too heavy for it. And he said, yeah, that's totally the problem. So, this is the potential. This is at 25 metres, you know. I know, you're going to say, what, 25 metres, what's that? That's nothing. Yeah, I know. So that's 28 yards, right? But let's be realistic. This rifle probably hasn't been shot in 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, God knows how many, 100 years maybe. So, hey, give it a break. The other thing is that these, I mean, you know, look, that's about 3 millimeters of play in the rear sight, and that front sight was moving. So, but when the planets did align, if you can see that, when the planets did align, that's a 3-shot group. So what I had was 2 touching and a partial keyhole. So not all of it was keyhole. So that's about, that's 1/3 of an inch. So I said to Rick, have a look at that group, and he had a look through his scope and he said, oh, that's excellent, that's really good, you know, for these old guns and for these sights and my eyes. So we have to mitigate these results with the fact that my eyes are really old and I can't see through, even with glasses on, I can't see, you know, use iron sights that well anymore. And the other thing is the rear sight is moving around, the front sight was moving around, and the rifles, these projectiles were not getting stabilised. So what I'm going to do to mitigate that problem is I straight away, after shooting those 18 rounds, I packed up and I headed off to the gun shop, and I got, because they were 180 grainers, too heavy, so I've got some Spear hot core 150 grainers and some Hornady, one of these, Hornady Interlock 150 grainers. I really like to try some 140s, 130s, but that's a fair, significant reduction in weight, 180 to 150. And the good thing about these Hornadies is that they're 312, nice and tight, whereas the hot cores are 311.311. So what I'm going to do, pardon me, I'm not going to do it until I get my new press. I'm not going to use that piece of crap Lee. It's just so sloppy, it's just a joke. I'm going to wait until the RCBS Summit arrives, and then I'll have properly aligned bullet seating. Not that Lee is just a piece of crap. So that's the result. So the potential is really good. Again, Rick, who I defer to in with regards to Lee Enfield, because he knows a hell of a lot more than me, and he said, hey, you get some lighter bullets in that thing and you're going to have a serious shooter. Yeah, I'll have a serious shooter, but I'm still going to have old eyes and iron sights. You know, I'm not going to have a scope on it. There is absolutely zero chance of putting a scope on this firearm, just because of the construction of it, number one, and number two, I just couldn't do it to it. You know, I couldn't butcher it. I really couldn't. It's just a sweet old gun. I really love it. I really, yeah. After seeing that, you know, I just went, yeah. I think that was the group afterwards, but it was smoking hot by that time, and yeah, he said, hey, they don't mind a warm barrel, but once you get them smoking, yeah, you're going to spread, and it did. It did, but the potential is really there. I mean, this was a target rifle, competition target rifle, so, hey. And he did say that is a really sweet barrel. Yes, really fine pitting, but hey. Let's see, what else did I want to cover? Oh yeah, on the way back, I headed off up a particular road to scout out a new camping, hiking camping area, and yeah, I had to put it in a 4-wheel because it got really rough. and it's an old forestry road. So, I don't know. I've got a mate who wants me. What is it? It's the 19th, 22nd, 19th, 20th. Yeah, either tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to head up there and do an overnighter. So that's for G11 Outdoors, not Go Bangs 11, G11 Outdoors. So if you haven't had a look at G11 Outdoors, have a look. There's not a lot of videos. I haven't done a lot because I haven't had the opportunity. But I want to do it before the monsoon hits, because it's really, really late. The monsoon is very late. I mean, we're 19th of December and the monsoon hasn't hit yet. That's very, very, very late. So my suspicion is that when it does hit, it's gonna smash. So I want to get my camping in before it just gets ridiculously wet. But so that's G11 Outdoors. Check it out. But anyway, my Lee Enfield, yeah, it's a beauty. Anyway, I'm gonna tighten that up. You know what? Even though this muzzle cap, check out how that muzzle cap moves around. I mean, that's just a joke. And that's got a piece of cardboard in it. The original, you had a piece of cardboard fell out when I took it off, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I realised what he'd done. So I'm gonna have to get some. I've got plastic steel putty, and I would build that fore end up to the point where that goes on firm. But anyway, that's the potential. That's the potential. So, you know what? If I can get, so that's about 1/3 of an inch at 25 metres. So multiply that by 4. So, you know what? If I can get 2 inches, or with those iron sights, if I can, and that's a pretty short sight radius. If I can get 2 inches at 100 metres, I'll be stoked. You know, with iron sights. I mean, it's not easy. For you young people, yeah, you know, anyone under 30 or 35, yeah, sweet. But once you get over 40, yeah, your eyesight is not the same. There's only very few special individuals whose eyesight doesn't deteriorate after about 40, 35, 40. It really does. So when an old person tells you, hey, take advantage of what you got while you got it, do it, because they know what they're talking about. It's funny how you appreciate what the old people told you when you're old. You don't appreciate it when you're young. Yeah. So anyway, that's about it. But if you are interested in Lee Enfield rifles, that's the book to get. Ian Skennington, the Lee Enfield, A Century of Lee Metford and Lee Enfield Rifles and Carbines. I'm not getting a kickback, but it's such a fantastic book, and he's an Australian, so yeah, there you go, being a bit parochial. But it's not cheap. It costs me $100 from Rebel Sports. I don't know how much it is off his website, but it's worth it. I'm telling you right now, there aren't many books that I've paid for that were $100. This is one that I would gladly pay $100 for any day of the week, because it is quite literally the Bible on Lee Enfields, and it's an extremely high quality made book. Like, they didn't skimp. This isn't a crappy glued together where the pages are glued to. Nah, this is the real deal. It's a properly made book, and it's got nice big pictures. It's got everything. It's got serial numbers. Anything that you want to know about a Lee Enfield or a Lee Metford is in that book. So I've rambled on enough, but I'm really, really happy. Because when I did have a look at the shop, I could see that the rifling was very prominent and it wasn't eroded, it wasn't worn out or anything. The very, very fine pitting is, what do you do? It's probably been sitting around, like I said, it's probably been sitting around in a humid environment for a very long. It was probably originally oiled up, put in a cupboard, or back then you just put it in a cupboard, in a wardrobe, and it probably sat there for a very, very, very long time, and yeah, there's not much you can do about it. Humidity will get in there, and So it wasn't. What it tells me that it wasn't, when it was stored, it wasn't dirty. It just got, yeah, humid air in there, and it just, yeah, pitted it. But not enough to affect the accuracy of it, I don't think. You know, obviously it's going to affect the accuracy a bit, but yeah, overall, I think she's a beauty. So once I get the RCBS Summit press and make some lower powder load ammunition, because what I need is lighter projectiles, slower, lighter projectiles, so that they have an opportunity to stabilise through the barrel. Instead of these things, they're just smoking through it and they're too heavy, and yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, because there's definitely the reason for the keyholing is not the barrel, it's the ammunition. So once that press arrives, I'm still waiting for. I think they're still waiting for delivery into Australia of them. Australia is such a crap market for anything like that. It's just so hard to get stuff, you know. But anyway, once I get that, I'll make up the ammo. I'll go to the range, and I'll get someone who with decent eyesight to shoot it to really show up what it's capable of. So until then, see you later.